Hello CraftDee Family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So Crafty. For today's DIY project, we'll be creating this super sweet wall decor piece that has a rustic farmhouse feel. Now this creation was inspired by a high-end decor piece that I saw online for $142, but I knew that I would be able to recreate it for a lot less using items from the Dollar Tree and other low-cost and recycled items as well. Now I have provided the list of supplies and tools that I used to make this project in the description box below. I'm so very excited to share this fun project with you, but before we start, I wanted to say hey, and welcome back to all of my amazing subscribers and visitors to my channel. Now, if you are a new visitor to my channel today, and you love to create fun and easy DIY projects on a budget, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and also click that notification bell so you will be the first to know when a new DIY tutorial is ready to share with you. So now, let's just jump right into the project. Now here is the inspiration photo for this project. Now I absolutely love this style of decor, and the inclined fence design was so eye-catching. Now along with those beautiful rustic pots, I thought that these elements would provide the perfect challenge for me to recreate. So I headed to the Dollar Tree to pick up some supplies as well as other items that were less than $1 to make this all come together. Now for this project, we're going to need 2 of these 10 count 1 gallon paint stir sticks from Lowe's, and these are 98 cents each. We'll also be using 4 empty tin cans, and we'll be using some poster board from the Dollar Tree. So the first thing we're going to do is take 1 of those packs of those 10 gallon stir sticks, and I am going to mark a top peak for my fence picket, and I'm going to start and end this where that handle starts to curve. Now once that is drawn, go ahead and take it out to your saw and cut your peak. Now for the second pack, we are just going to open these because we will be cutting all these to size to make our fence design come together. So go ahead and lay out your grid mat, and we'll be using this as a guide when laying out our fence sections. So unbundle those fence sections, and we want to make sure that we lay these with the markings facing you and the good side is facing down. So how we're going to lay these is we're going to space them 1 inch apart, and each one of the sticks is going to be 1 inch higher than the last one to create our inclined direction, and we're going to lay out with 7 sticks in the beginning. And then we're going to grab 1 of those full sticks, and I'm going to lay it right along the bottom edge, and this will be the first level of support for our fence. Now we're just going to repeat this for the second and the third levels, and we do want to make sure the curved part of that paint stick is actually over one of the sticks. Now once those are all laid in place, just take your pencil and mark their placement so you'll know where to glue them. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to mark a line where they overlap that last stick by about 1/4 of an inch, and then mark where I'm going to trim off the excess on the end. Now once those are all marked, you can go ahead and cut these off. Now since I just had 1 stick, I am just going to cut these with a utility knife, and it was fairly easy to do. And then this is what you end up with your 3 sticks cut at an angle, and you just want to lay them back down and line them up with your marks that you made. And once they're all laid out, I'm going to be using my Surebonder hot glue gun with the Surebonder wood glue sticks for this project. Now to bond these in place, I'm just going to apply some of that hot glue to each one of those picket sticks, and then I'm going to lay that 1 stick that we cut right on top, making sure you fit it along the lines that you marked. And then you're just going to repeat this for the remaining 2 sticks, making sure that you lay them out as evenly as possible. And here are all the sticks fully bonded. And then I'm going to grab 2 more of those pickets, and I am going to place these right next to picket number 7 that's right at the top. Now to hold these in place, it's a good idea to take like a roll of some painter's tape and put it on the back of the stick. Now I did do this for some of the other sticks, and I don't believe I did show you guys. I'm sorry about that, but it's a good idea to tape those down so they don't shift. So now we're going to connect that 6th picket to the 7th picket, and you see our sticks were originally too short. So what we're going to do is take additional stick that we had, and we're just going to line it up with that angle, and we're going to overlap that next stick by 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to mark the alignment at the end of that first stick that we had. So we're just going to mark 3 sections to join that last stick to stick number 7. So what we're going to do is cut these out with our utility knife, and now we have all 3 sections, and I've numbered them so I'll know where to place them, and I'm just going to stick them in place. And as you can see, they do overlap by 1/4 of an inch because we want that other end to be able to hold an additional stick to join the other 2 pieces. Now you just take some hot glue, put it on each end, and you want to put it in place, making sure that the angles are nice and even and that they match. And then I'm going to place some of that hot glue down the seam for extra security. And then I had some of these extra craft sticks left over. I hold on to all of my scraps. I know I have a problem. But what I did is I took those craft scraps and I'm just going to add them on that seam. And this is just for a little bit of extra stability on that seam. So now we're going to grab an additional paint stick, and this is where we're going to cross those last 3 sticks, and I'm just going to measure a distance from the end of that first stick to the end of the pickets. Now I can get 2 pickets, 2 of these pieces out of 1 stick and a 3rd one out of the 3rd, because you don't want that curved part on there. So once all 3 pieces are measured and cut out with your utility knife, you could place those in place right on top. Go ahead and hot glue them in and put glue in those seams. And I'm just going to take some more of those scrap craft sticks and place over that seam just so they'll be nice and secure. So here is the piece all hot glued together, and it is ready to go. Now to have a little bit of extra reinforcement, I'm just taking my staple gun and I'm applying a staple everywhere where the sticks overlap. And this is how it looks so far, and this is what it will look like when all the staples are applied. Now for my second backup of security, I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue at that seam where the wood sticks come together. This is just a little bit of added extra stability since we will be holding a little bit of weight on this piece. So now we can go ahead and work on our can. So grab one of the cans, and the placement will be where the top rim will touch that second stick. And there will be a can between the first 2 sticks, the second 2 sticks, and the third 2 sticks, and then that last one. So I'm going to mark down about 1.5 inches from the edge onto the stick pattern, fence pattern, and then I'm going to put 2 dots on each side. Now once you have those first 2 dots put in place, I'm just taking a scrap piece of paper and laying it where I would lay my can. I'm going to rub those dots against that paper and they will transfer right on there. Now this is going to be used as a template to transfer over to where we're going to place our second set of cans here. I'm rubbing that paper against it, and as you can see, those dots do transfer. So I'm going to do it for the first 3 dots on the incline. I'm going to rub them on and then trace them on. Now for the last one, we are going to actually put our can right on that center stick. So once we place it there, we're going to line it up with that middle stick in the middle, and then I'm just going to place 2 dots about 1/2 inch apart. So now that our dots are all marked, we are going to drill holes where those dots are because we will be securing these with straps. So we're going to just quickly drill out all of those holes in there. Now, if you don't have a drill, you could also use a nail and hammer a nail in there to get a hole as well. You just want to make sure that it's big enough for a zip tie to go through. So now everything is drilled, we can go ahead and paint our fence, and I'll be using some of this nutmeg brown and some of this black, and I'll mix them together to make a nice dark brown. Now this will be an undercoat, so I just want to make sure I put this in, I try to cover up as much as I can. It doesn't exactly have to be neat. You just want to make sure you cover it up because it will be showing through under our weathered coating, and this is what it will look like when it's all painted. And now that it's all dry, we can start working on our weathered finish. And I'm just going to be using this white acrylic paint, and I'm just going to be using this chip brush to apply it. So I'm going to dip my chip brush into there, and I'm going to remove most of that paint from the brush for a mostly dry brush. And as you can see, when I wisp it across those pickets, it creates this really worn, weathered look, and you want to do this for all your pickets and in between until the whole fence is covered. And now that our fence is finally dry, we can move on to the next step. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to take my cans and I will determine their placement. So what I'm going to do is place it on the fence, and once I get it aligned where it goes, I'm going to flip it over to the back. Now what I did is I just put a little dot of that paint right on one of these little scrap sticks, and I have a fine paintbrush from Dollar Tree. I'm going to dip my paintbrush in those little screw holes where I touch the can, and this way the screw holes will be transferred onto the can, and we know where to screw our holes to attach them. Now I am going to mark the cans as I go so I know what level goes where. Now you do want to repeat this for all of your cans, making sure you mark those and marking the level on the outside so you know where to place them. And then for the final can, mark those 2 dots and we're good to go. So now that we have everything marked, I'm just going to take my drill and I am going to drill in those holes where I marked on each one of the cans. And now all our cans are drilled and ready to go. Now I am going to be covering my cans, so I'm going to transfer those place markings to the inside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this poster board from Dollar Tree and I'm going to be transforming it to look like galvanized metal. Now I just spray painted it with some silver or aluminum color spray paint, and then I dabbed it with a paper towel while it was wet to create this texture. Now it's really simple and easy to do, and it dries super quick. Now I do have a quick demo showing how to do this, and I will link it up in the top right hand corner of this video, and I'll also link it in the description box below. So again, I'm going to lay out the grid mat and grab that painted poster board and one of my cans. Now all I'm going to do is take that can and I want to lay it along the edge, and I want to mark the distance and length of that can on that poster board, giving just a little bit of playroom. Then take my straight edge and I want to connect those markings, and then I just want to cut those out. Now using your X-Acto knife and a straight edge to do this will give you the best result. Now once that piece is nice and straight and cut out, you just want to trace the dimensions of that piece onto the board and cut a second strip. So now grab one of your cans, and what you want to do is just to start to roll that poster board around the can, because you want to determine how much you will need to wrap up the entire can. So once that poster board overlaps about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, you want to make a mark at that point. Then take your ruler and your X-Acto knife. You want to join up those markings and then cut it down the middle, and it ended up being cut about right in half. So now we can start to apply it to the can, and you do want to make sure that your seam is in between the 2 drill holes in the can. Just apply some of that hot glue right in between there and start applying the edge of that poster board sheet to the can. You do want to make sure that it is covering the top and bottom edges. Now once that first strip is secured, you just go ahead and apply another strip of that hot glue every few inches. Just keep wrapping it around the can really tight to make sure it's secure. Then at the end, put another generous amount of hot glue, making sure those edges are overlapped, and now you have one completely covered can, and this is what it looks like. Now another trick I used was using this bone folder tool. It's a common tool used to make paper flowers, and you can use it to curve the board to ensure you don't have any creases. So if you do have one of these, it's a good tool to use to pre-curve all of your boards to prevent any kind of creases in it. Then once all your cans are covered, just do any last minute trimming and cleanup, and you are done. You just want to make sure all 4 of your cans are nice and covered. Now when we did cover our cans, we did cover our holes. So I'm just taking this little poker tool that I got from Dollar Tree and I'm poking it from the inside just to transfer those holes, and then I'm making them wide enough for feed through. So I'm just taking my X-Acto knife and my poker tool and making sure you could see all of those holes from the outside. So to attach our cans, we're going to be using these zip ties, and I got these from Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to start at the very top of my fence, so I'm going to poke a zip tie through the back of the fence, through the top hole of the can, back through the bottom hole of the can, and then when that's strapped in, you just go ahead and place that zip tie through the bottom hole of the fence. Now once it is there, just connect the back and squeeze and place that zip tie in place. You don't want it totally tightened, just in case you need to make any adjustments. Then for the second can, we're going to do the same thing. Now these go side to side, so you just want to insert one of those zip ties, insert it through one side of the can and out through the other, and then back through the back of the fence through the other hole. Again, you want to secure that zip tie in place, not too tight, but just enough to secure it while you work. Now you want to repeat this until all the cans are attached, and once they are, you can go back and tighten everything up. And then take your wire clippers or scissors and snip off all of those zip tie tails. So now what I'm going to do is add a little rustic trim to my containers. Now in retrospect, I should have painted these before I attached them, but I was just so excited seeing all this to come together that I didn't even think about it until they were attached. But what I'm going to use is some of this red, nutmeg brown, and black, and I'm going to mix them until I get a rust color. Now it wasn't rust enough, so I did add some harvest orange to it to give it a more red rustic color. Now I'm just going to dab off some of that paint and then start tapping that color around the top and bottom edges of all of my cans. Now this will be the beginning of how we achieve our rust look, so we just want to apply a nice good coating to the top and bottom. And here are all the cans with that first layer. You want to dab off more of that paint for a more dry brush, and then we're going to apply another layer right underneath it just to look like the rust is kind of spreading around on those cans. You can put it on the can in the middle, you can do little lines, just make it look as realistic as you want. Now after that is done, I'm mixing a little black into the rust color and I'm going around the top and bottom edges. Now where rust usually originates, it's usually darker than the rest of the area, so this is just to help it achieve a more realistic look and look more like my inspiration piece, and this is what it will look like. And this is when everything is nice and dry and you can see that rustic farmhouse feel of this piece. Now to hang the piece, we are going to flip it over to the back, and I'm going to put a loop at the second stick at the top and the second stick at the bottom. So to do this, I'm using some of this thick jute twine with knots tied on each end. I'm just going to fold that in half, and I want to place that right on top of that middle stick, right on that second stick at the top of our fence. And I'm going to be applying this with a couple of staples on each side with my staple gun. Now I made the loop really small so you couldn't see it from the other side, but it is sufficient enough to fit on a nail that's mounted in the wall. Now you just repeat this for that second stick down at the bottom. You just want to place it right there in the middle and staple that into the place as well. And here are both loops in place and it's ready to hang. So now we can decorate our piece. So I have some bundles of boxwood that I got from Walmart for 98 cents, and you could just add these to the little pots. I just think this is such a great contrast with the bright green and the rustic color. This looks amazing. Then of course, if flowers are more of your style, I did find these cute little daisies at the Dollar Tree, and I put one of those in every other pot. Now I'm a sucker for wildflowers and I love yellow, so I placed some of those in there, and I really love this combination too. Now if you are a sunflower fan, no worries, I got your back. Put some sunflowers in with those boxwoods and it would look amazing. Now you could do anything you like with this. You can even add any kind of greenery you like. And now we can hang up the final project and enjoy it. Now, I really love the way that this turned out. Now, there is so much detail and so many textures in this piece, and it makes it really stand out. And I think that the finish on the fence turned out so awesome, and it really looks like weathered wood. And those pots, now they're really the star of the show with a realistic galvanized rustic look, and they were so easy to make. Now all you have to do is top off with some greenery or filler. I mean, your choice. It's really up to you. Now you can even use this for craft supplies, some art tools, or even in the kitchen. Now the possibilities for this are endless. Now be sure to let me know in the comments what different ways would you use this piece in your home. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So Crafty EE on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen and then click on the bell. It's absolutely free. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.